Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show on this Thursday, October 16th. Without further ado, so thrilled to welcome again into the Joy Virtual Studio our very good friend, Dr. William Makis. He is one of the world's foremost experts on cancers, and he has been treating cancer for decades. He's been healing people of cancer for decades. And this is why he is public enemy number one in Canada. You know, I used to think that Dr. Mary Shelley Bowden was the most persecuted doctor in the world, but I think it might go to Dr. William Makis. They have thrown everything but the kitchen sink at this guy, including an entire campaign of imposters pretending to be him. They have censured him. They have stripped him of his medical license. I mean, you name it. And he continues to proclaim the truth and save people. In fact, Dr. Makis has cured one of my very, very, very dear, like close family friend, almost like a sister. And so I will be forever thankful of Dr. Makis. But it's been a while since he's been on the show. He has an amazing Substack that you need to follow. We'll pop that up in the live chat. Still in Canada. How is everything going for you? Before we get into cancer and how you can help people and we can help people, how can we help you? Because you are continuing to just be pummeled with all of these attacks because you're doing such great work with cancer. What is the status of your situation and the persecution that you've been experiencing in Canada?
Well, thank you for having me on again, Shannon. It's been a wild ride for the past year and a half. I started a clinic about a year and a half ago, last summer. And it was a health coaching clinic for cancer patients using ivermectin, bendazole, mebendazole, and other repurposed drugs and supplements. And the reason I started the clinic was because patients kept coming to me, telling me they had been reading my Substack. They were coming to my live events, telling me their stage 4 tumors were shrinking, or their cancer had gone into remission, just after reading my articles on ivermectin or fenbendazole. Joe Rogan was reading my Substack on one of his shows about fenbendazole.
Wow.
And so I thought, I really need to guide these patients, guide them in the literature, the proper dosing, what things to expect, side effects, how to use the repurposed drugs, where to get them, where to obtain them. So it's been an amazing journey. We're closing in on 7,000 patients that we've helped since last summer. I think we're at about 6,900. It's been absolutely incredible. Hundreds and hundreds of testimonials. I post them every single day. I post them on my Substack at Makis. On my Substack, makisw.substack.com. Also on my Twitter account or X account at Makis Medicine. Now, for all my troubles, I've been threatened with imprisonment by the Alberta government. In fact, they filed an application to have me thrown in prison for 3 months. So we fought that for a few months. Then I had my bank accounts raided and frozen. I had my Stripe account frozen and raided for about $150,000. I had my GiftSendGo frozen. That was my legal fund for about $200,000. They froze that for 3-4 months. I had my Wise account frozen and canceled. So they tried to bankrupt me financially. That's the way the Canadian government and the Alberta government, that's how they wage war. We see this with the truckers, right? When we had that successful trucker protest against vaccine mandates, what do? Mark Carney, the current prime minister, actually advised then Prime Minister Trudeau to go after bank accounts of anyone who donated to the Canadian truckers. So they froze hundreds of accounts. And it caused a panic, and people started taking money out of the banking system. And I think it caused such a panic that they sort of pulled back and backed off. But that's the first time in my life I had ever seen bank accounts frozen. And then, of course, I experienced it myself in the past year. When that didn't work, about 2 months ago, the Alberta government went to court with the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta. That's our medical board in Alberta. And they tried to have the government issue a court order to stop me from helping cancer patients, to effectively silence me, to strip me of my credentials on all my social media. So to get me to remove Dr. MD and so on from all my social media, and to effectively criminalize ivermectin in Alberta, in the sense that they were going to shut down my cancer clinic and the 7,000 cancer patients that we've been helping. And so they try to sever that link. Now, what happened was the head of the medical board showed up to court empty-handed, claimed that ivermectin is dangerous, that cancer patients shouldn't use it. He had no documents to back it up. I thought they would at least get some fake patient to claim, maybe a fake injury or something, right? I thought like at least fake something, right? And they've done that before.
Right.
They've paid people to make fraudulent
Yeah.
accusations. But they didn't even do that. They showed up literally with no documents, said ivermectin is very dangerous. What Dr. Makis is doing is extremely dangerous. He has to be silenced, stopped. No one should use ivermectin. No one should have the right to try. But the judge was facing a courtroom full of, the public who had come in, completely filled the courtroom. And he was very uncomfortable because he had
Wow.
nothing to make a decision on. And so this is where really, the public coming to the courtroom really helped push back. And I have an incredible lawyer, Catherine Christensen, who is a military lawyer, who's actually helped members of the military go up against the military brass in Canada with the vaccine mandates. And so she's been fighting for military members who didn't want the vaccines. And the Law Society has been after her as well. But she came to court and she fought back. She said, "Where's your evidence? Where's your documents? Where's your proof that ivermectin is dangerous?" And they were silent. They had absolutely nothing to say. But what was incredible is that the head of the medical board, now this is, you can draw a comparison to Dr. Mary Talley Bowden and the Texas Medical Board and the corruption there. They showed up with a court decision pre-typed, pre-written before the court hearing started. So they had a court decision that said, we are awarding the college this court order, silencing Dr. Makis, stripping him of his credentials, and so on. And so the medical board lawyer hands this pre-written court decision to the judge. The judge was embarrassed because it's a rigged court hearing at that point, right? He doesn't want to hear anything that my lawyer has to say. So he had to actually cross out parts of the court order that he didn't want to give them and then signed it. It's a gong show. I mean, it is literally court fraud that the head of the medical board committed. He resigned a month later. He quietly resigned, saying he has to spend. They have to spend time with his grandchildren, and he's heading into retirement. He's controlled the medical licenses of all Canadian doctors for the past 8 years. He went after ivermectin for COVID. He called it a horse dewormer. He said we have to be more aggressive in persecuting doctors who issue vaccine exemptions, who issue prescriptions for ivermectin. So he resigned a month after this fiasco, after he was caught committing court fraud. And so they did issue a temporary court order. We went to the Supreme Court to fight it. So that's in progress right now. But in the meantime, my lawyer said, look, so they don't have anything else to attack you with in the meantime, because they're going to try to destroy you before we even get to the Superior Court. Know what? Why don't you take the doctor and MD, all those credentials from your social media, say you're, compliant with court order, and just continue helping cancer patients, because health coaching is not regulated in Canada. It is not under the medical board's jurisdiction. So they have absolutely no jurisdiction over me helping cancer patients.
You are making my point. I mean, one of the regular themes of the Shannon Joy Show is the Trojan horse nature of the Republican Party, the conservative movement, Donald Trump. We here in the States, we're 8 months into his presidency. We have Bobby Kennedy at HHS, and we don't really have anything to show for it yet, at least from Washington, D.C. But in the culture and out in the world, we're seeing great victories. And I think that's the story of William Makis, Dr. William Makis, right? Because it's outrageous to me that they have stolen your credentials. You were a medical doctor. I haven't heard of that happening. They did it to Andrew Wakefield, I believe, at the very beginning of all of this. But even recently, even some of the most persecuted doctors in America, Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, among others, Dr. Pierre Corey, they have not had their actual medical credentials withdrawn. That's outrageous that happened to you. I mean, anyone to show up at court and actually testify against you or any of your advice, you're going to need a medal. We're going to, I know some documentary people. We need to make a documentary about what you've gone through. Again, Dr. Makis, I don't think that I have seen this type of persecution. Yep.
They've gone after Dr. Pierre Corey and Dr. Paul Merrick's, I believe, internal medicine certification. So they did try to hit them on their credentials, but I haven't seen anyone attacked for their using their doctor or their MD. I mean, I've earned my MD from the medical school. No one can really ever take that away from me. But apparently,
That's
as
right.
long as I live in Alberta, right now I can't use it because we have a corrupt medical board that despises cancer patients, hates them, is trying to deny them their right to try. And it's all being backed by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who is the hero in Canada, supposedly the hero of freedom fighters, hero of conservatives. And yet I'm facing a really unprecedented persecution for a doctor. I've been threatened with imprisonment. Now, I know Dr. Simone Gold was actually imprisoned in the United States for the January 6th scandal, fiasco, right? So she's been persecuted heavily as well. She's come through the other side. She's defeated that corruption. I'm shocked at what's happening with the Texas Medical Board and their ongoing persecution of Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. It is absolutely unfathomable that this is happening in the United States. I was in Florida the last 2 weeks. I did 2 live events with Dr. Joseph Ladapo, Florida Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo. We did some events together, speaking events at the Villages and in Venice, Florida. I got a chance to talk to him about ivermectin use in cancer and my experience with cancer patients over the past year. He's very excited. He was very curious. He had very, very interesting questions that he was asking me about what kinds of patients react, what kind of cancers react, what kind of side effects and success rates, and all of those things, which is what every good doctor should be asking, every cancer center should be doing. And what's incredible is that Florida is leading the United States in this cutting edge cancer research, and Governor DeSantis and his wife Casey DeSantis announced that Florida will be allocating $65 million to research repurposed drugs in cancer that have no big pharma backing, that big pharma can't make billions of dollars from. And they will research ivermectin, mebendazole, maybe fenbendazole for cancer patients the way it should be done by all the large cancer centers. So Florida is leading the way in this regard. And I just read yesterday that the Texas Medical Board is doing the opposite. That they're now forcing patients to fill out forms if they're going to use alternative approaches like ivermectin in cancer. They're going to be forced to fill out forms that are going to be put on their patient charts. So that has to be on their patient charts that they're using alternative medicine, and doctors will basically not be allowed to prescribe ivermectin or mebendazole for use in cancer, even though they're both FDA approved. You can prescribe medications off-label if you're doing it properly, and yet Texas is going in the exact opposite direction, whereas Florida is leading the way in medical freedom and right to try for cancer patients.
Yeah, if you're living in Texas and you think that the Republicans are going to come save you just because you live in a red state, think again. Texas is also the site for the largest expansion of the massive data centers, the million square foot mega data centers that they're propping up all over Texas. You guys got a lot of work to do down there. And it's just outrageous.
Isn't it interesting, Shannon, that this is happening in Texas? Because I can tell you that the movement in medicine, you talked about everything going digital in terms of the financial system, the tokenization, the digital currency, and all of that. Something similar is going to be happening to medicine very soon. What we're seeing is thousands of doctors getting sick. They're getting sick from the shots. They're having heart issues. They're having heart attacks, strokes, blood clots. They're having cancer. They're getting turbo cancers because 99% of doctors took the shots. They took at least 2 shots. And there's some doctors still boasting on Twitter that they're taking the latest booster shots. I mean, we had President Trump saying he got the latest COVID booster shot too. So that doesn't help the situation either. But the doctors went full in. They went full in on the COVID vaccine fraud. They went full in. 99% of them are vaccinated. I'm seeing actually many of them are coming to me. Now, they're coming quietly. They don't want anyone to know that they've been vaccine injured, that they're developing aggressive cancers. They're coming to me. They're asking for help. They want ivermectin. They want mebendazole, fenbendazole. And what I'm seeing is a lot of doctors are going to be dropping out of healthcare due to health issues. Doctors are retiring early. They're closing their practices in their 40s. In the past, doctors used to work into their 70s. Now they're retiring in their 40s because of heart attacks, strokes, and cancer. And you know what's going to replace them? It's not going to be doctors from overseas or new medical students. It's going to be AI. That's where I see this happening within the next 5 years. We're going to see AI creeping into medicine as well.
Unbelievable. And that is why my friends, Bobby Kennedy Jr. testified in front of, I believe it was a Senate or a House committee. And he stated that his mission as the head of HHS is to have every American on a wearable in 4 years. A data collecting, biometric data collecting wearable device. He said it. And so that just shows you how, and I think though, Dr. Makis, this also, people are rejecting AI. Everyone hates AI at this point. No one likes it anymore. So great. I love it. Okay. I think that people are going to I think it's going to open up an amazing opportunity for healers outside of the medical industrial complex. People like yourself who have been ripped of your credentials. You're no longer a medical doctor. That doesn't mean you can't heal people. And that doesn't mean you can't see people. And that is what is so exciting and amazing about what you have done. The amount of patients that you have seen and helped over the past year, 7,000 is absolutely extraordinary. And I think we are that parallel system that we have been talking about for so long. I think we're going to have a shot at getting that up and running because people are going to be desperate for help. And you're right. Yeah. We're going to have the medical industrial complex crushing itself, right? Imploding in on itself because of their insistence on pushing these shots on themselves and other people. And so it's going to necessarily push the market into a truth space, which I think you are in right now. So
can I tell you, Shannon, I think it shows what's possible. So I was looking at the numbers because I was wondering, okay, well, how many new patients, cancer patients, does a typical oncologist in Texas, in Florida see every year? The typical oncologist, and you can run this through AI, sees about 150 new cancer patients a year. If they're a really busy oncologist at one of the big cancer centers, MD Anderson, Johns Hopkins, Dana-Farber, Memorial Sloane-Kettering, they might see up to 300 new cancer patients a year. I had 7,000 cancer patients come to me in the past year. So that's about 20 times just me and my, my very small team, my very small trusted team of unvaccinated helpers. And 7,000.
You want them to stick around. So,
and I've not turned away anybody. We've tried to help absolutely everybody. There's more than 7,000 because there's people who sort of come and go, get a little bit of help, and then they sort of move on. But what I'm trying to show is what's possible. I have not advertised. I don't have a website. This is people who are coming to me simply through seeing my work, seeing interviews like interview with you, interview with Alex Jones and Health Ranger and so on. Dr. John Campbell in UK, we did a 2-hour interview. Tons of cancer patients saw that, came out to me after that. And so it shows what's possible. One person outside of the system, one physician, but working outside of the system, outside of the clutches of the medical board. And I was able to help 7,000 patients in 1 year. This is the power of being outside the system, not being handcuffed to trying to just sell chemo, sell radiation, sell new expensive multi-$100,000 drugs, because that's the alternative. The alternative is, they're pushing everyone into vaccines. And we see the kind of red carpet rollout that Pfizer got at the White House just a few days ago. Right? We see President Trump shaking hands with Albert Bourla. And, I love Bobby Kennedy Jr. I think, he's terrific. And I think he's in a horrible spot. because I would not want to do his job. Like, I honestly would not. I don't think I would survive in that position. And he was giving dagger eyes to Albert Bourla, the Pfizer CEO. He was just staring him down,
You
like,
guys are
he
so nice. Yeah, you
it
guys
is,
are so nice.
but you see, Pfizer gets to roll out red carpet
Yeah,
rollout, gets deals, gets more deals. He should be getting prison time. Albert Bourla should be
yeah,
getting prison in life, not getting new multi-billion-dollar deals. And they've
that's
been
right.
very open about what they want to do. Is they want to pump out mRNA cancer vaccines. They want to take this
Mm,
broken, failed technology that's killing people and put it into cancer. Now they want to go after cancer patients. And same with Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, when he was at the White House a few months ago, boasting that AI was going to be the way to new cancer drugs and new cancer treatments. It is a fraud. AI is a bubble, first of all. It's a bubble that's going to burst. And I
yep,
think we're going to see that over the next couple of years. Is it's going to implode, and we're going to see it for the fraud that it is.
that's right.
But especially in medicine and in cancer, AI is a complete fraud, and so is
Yeah,
mRNA and mRNA vaccines. Because I looked at the technology, I looked at what they're actually got in phase 3 trials in UK, in Australia, and what they're going to try to pump out on the market. These mRNA cancer vaccines, first of all, they don't work. So they combine it with an older cancer drug like Keytruda that works. And
yeah.
now you're going to have to go for maybe 20 injections of the mRNA, 10 injections of Keytruda. So now you're going to have to get 30 injections of this garbage, this complete mRNA vaccine garbage that they're going to claim is going to cure cancer or treat cancer, and it's going to cost every cancer patient $500,000 because that's the price tag that's attached to these miraculous new technologies. But when you look at the data, it's not there. They're claiming survival benefit of 10%, 20%.
Oh my word.
It's I have stage 4 cancer patients, pancreatic cancer patients who are now cancer free. I have stage 4 ovarian cancer patients who are cancer free. I
Wow.
have glioblastoma cancer patients whose tumors that used to come back every couple of months have stopped coming back and they're
Oh my
cancer
word.
free. Now my work is actually extending into pediatrics as well. I have a lot of children with cancer,
Mm,
and some of these children are vaccinated. Unfortunately, they had the COVID-19 vaccines, and they developed extremely aggressive cancers. And I'll tell you something else, Shannon. Right now, I've seen a shift in the past year. In the beginning, I had a mix of vaccinated and unvaccinated cancer patients. I thought, okay, that's interesting. The vaccinated are obviously much more aggressive. They're turbo cancers, so they grow much more rapidly. But I've seen over at least the last 6 months, a complete shift towards all patients being vaccinated. And I think it's
wow.
just because more and more cancer is happening in the vaccinated. We're actually seeing huge studies now come out confirming that the vaccinated are suffering anywhere from 20 to 60% increases in cancer. There was a Italian study that came out recently with 300,000 people, and a South Korean study that came out recently with 8 million people,
Wow.
confirming that the vaccinated are suffering significant increases in multiple cancers. So that's being confirmed. Turbo cancer is not a myth. It's not a conspiracy theory, as Wikipedia has been trying to claim for the last 2 years. And what I've been attacked on is trying to warn people about these vaccines, COVID vaccines, causing turbo cancer, whether it's Pfizer, whether it's Moderna, and now it's being confirmed for Johnson and Johnson and AstraZeneca as well, the DNA-based vaccines as well. So it's all of them. All the COVID vaccines are causing dramatic increases in cancer, and it's just happening more and more. We're getting proof of it in the literature, and these patients need help.
In the live chat, some of the viewers are wondering about the mechanism of harm. We had our hunches, and we were surmising back in 2021 and 22 about the mechanisms of harm and how these shots are causing cancers. Can you speak to those mechanisms of harm, and can you speak to the cover up that we're witnessing from our own government about the cancer epidemic? Because I do believe if we had actual numbers, I think that they would be absolutely stunning. And I don't know if there are numbers if other countries have done studies on this, or there's anything that we could look to. But I think that that's incredibly important. And we do, at the very least, Bobby Kennedy Jr. can release the numbers. CDC can release the numbers. Like how many people have cancer? You have all that information. You have all that data.
Right.
Why can't you release it? Can you speak to those two items?
It's shocking that whether it's a CDC or the American Cancer Society, Canadian Cancer Society, none of them have put out cancer data after 2021. And 2021 was when the
Okay.
shots were rolled out. So it's fascinating that we just don't have data for the last couple of years. And I don't know if the data eventually comes out, if it's even going to be trustworthy. I can tell you in Japan, there was a paper that came out that had actually showed data on cancer rates, again, in the vaccinated, and they were forced to pull the paper. It was actually retracted. They were not allowed to publish it. The paper had to be pulled. And this was, I think, about a year and a half ago. So this cover-up has been going on for a few years now.
Yeah.
And, Shannon, I'm seeing multiple members in the same family now, because they come to me. If they've had success with one family member, now I will get another family member. It'll be a cousin, an uncle, an aunt, sometimes, a brother or sister. And it's tragic.
Right.
I have one family where two cousins, male cousins in their 40s, both diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Now, both of them are now cancer-free. They've done extremely well with combination of ivermectin and fenbendazole, but I'm seeing, multiple family members affected now. So it is I think a tsunami that's sweeping North America, really sweeping all the highly COVID vaccinated countries where the uptake was, 80%. But I would love to see, Bobby Kennedy put out the cancer data. I think we need it. Now, the mechanisms of action are, that's very interesting. There's many papers on this. I think the tragedy is that there are multiple mechanisms of action. I think every component of the COVID vaccine can contribute to cancer. And we don't know right now which are the main drivers of cancer. My personal hypothesis is that it's the damage to the immune system that is driving the cancer. I think we're seeing extensive immune system damage across the board in the vaccinated population,
Right.
because they get infected more often. So they keep getting COVID, and they'll say, well, I got my 6th or 7th COVID shot, and I've gotten COVID 6 times now. They keep getting sick. They keep getting sick with other infections like influenza. They keep getting viral reinfections, with Epstein-Barr virus and HSV, herpes simplex, and so on. They get shingles. So their immune systems are damaged and destroyed. And this is happening to kids as well. The kids are also getting damaged immune systems. I think that's going to be one of the big drivers of cancer. We'll see that. But the work that Kevin McKernan is doing in terms of the DNA contamination of the vaccines, the SV40 promoter, and the plasmids that have contaminated the vaccines because of the mass manufacturing process that Pfizer and Moderna are using and that are still using, he's actually now discovering the vaccine component, so the DNA contamination, which has a spike protein, integrating into cells, and he's finding it in cancers, in tumor cells. This is actually where the research is right now. There's already several papers coming. They tested the tumor, they did genetic testing on the tumor, and they found the vaccine component integrated into the tumor cell, and it's in all the tumor cells.
Oh my word!
Right, and so
Isn't that a direct correlation? Isn't that like a smoking gun? That's a smoking gun.
It is, but they're going to say, well, it's just one case and it's anecdotal and all this, or it's a couple of cases and it's anecdotal. But this is where I think the research is being focused to prove that, yes, this genetic therapy, because it's not a vaccine, and I posted about this recently. This was from the SEC filings of Moderna. They stated this is a gene therapy. It's not a vaccine. Right. It's first of all, it's contaminated. So it's got all kinds of genetic junk in there. It's not just the modified mRNA. It's got the DNA contaminations. It's got DNA mRNA hybrids. It's got double-stranded RNA hybrids. It is literally a cocktail of genetic junk encapsulated in a lipid nanoparticle, which itself is quite toxic. That is delivering this genetic junk all over our body. It's dumping it into the bone marrow. So we're seeing leukemias and blood cancers like multiple myeloma. It's dumping it into the brain, crossing the blood-brain barrier because it's a lipid particle. It crosses very easily. And I'm seeing brain cancers, the most aggressive brain cancers you can imagine, the glioblastomas. It's dumping it into the ovaries and testicles. We're seeing ovarian and testicular cancers. It's dumping it into the kidneys. I'm seeing kidney cancers. And so wherever this genetic material goes, and it doesn't stay in the arm, that was the big lie. I think that was one of the biggest lies that people should go to jail for the rest of their lives, who created this monstrosity, and it doesn't stay in the arm. About 75% of it is in the bloodstream within a couple of hours, and it's delivering this genetic junk with the lipid nanoparticles all over the body. And the most shocking situation that no one's talking about, and I've talked about this, put out a few articles on this, is it crosses the placenta and it's dumping the genetic material into the fetus. The fetus takes
Oh
it
my
up,
word.
and now I'm seeing cancers. I'm seeing cancers in fetuses in utero. These babies are developing tumors in the womb. And so
Oh
there's
my
a
word.
case not that long ago of triplets being born. I think the first one had a tumor that grew in utero and then through the placenta, transferred it to the second one. So the second one developed cancer a few months after being born. I mean, these are horror stories, Shannon. These are
Oh
absolute
no.
horror stories. This stuff, this mRNA technology needs to be halted and banned. It needs to be banned. I don't care if they're going to try to investigate it for the next 20 years and try to figure out what went wrong. This is extremely dangerous. It's got to be banned because we're going to be overtaken completely with cancer. And you know, Pfizer and Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla is actually super excited about this, and he's publicly stated that 1/3 of all people will get cancer, guaranteed, and that he's going to scale up production of cancer drugs and mRNA cancer vaccines the way he scaled up production for COVID vaccines. Now, we know that Pfizer pumped out billions of mRNA COVID shots. So, why is he talking about scaling up production of cancer drugs and cancer vaccines? Is because he anticipates such a big tsunami of cancer himself. He knows, obviously, that his product is responsible for these cancers. In the last year, there was over $100 billion in acquisitions of big pharma companies buying up all the small cancer drug companies they can get their hands on because they know this is where all the money is. It's not in the vaccines. They know they're going to have a very hard time pushing out another mRNA vaccine on us because the uptake is what, 5%, 10%? Who's getting the latest booster shot other than President Trump?
No one.
Nobody's getting the latest booster shot, right?
Idiot.
So nobody wants this. Nobody wants this stuff. People know on some level that this stuff is toxic, even if they don't want to admit it to themselves that they took 2 or 3 shots that they shouldn't have. Nobody wants the mRNA tech. They'll still try to push it on us, but nobody wants it. That's why all the pharmaceutical giants are moving into cancer because they know over the next 5 to 10 years, that's where all the money's going to be made.
Unbelievable. This is why you are public enemy number one. This is why you are the most persecuted medical doctor on the face of the planet, because what you are doing with your 7,000 patients and ivermectin plus fenbendazole, your refusal to back down, your refusal to stop seeing patients and advising them and consulting with them is attacking the largest, most disgusting, dystopian business model on the face of the planet, because now that they have injected millions of people with poison and contributed to these cancers, they are now going to feast on those bodies and make as much money as they possibly can, injecting these poor, desperate, frightened people with and by the way, they'll clean you out of all your savings. They'll empty the 401ks. They'll empty your bank accounts. They'll destroy your businesses. They will steal their children's inheritances. They will take all of it. That's how vicious and vile and nasty this system is.
I always say that every cancer patient is a $500,000 to $1 million walking savings account for big pharma that they will drain down to zero, and then they'll let you die. And this is what's happening and patients experience this for themselves when they go to the large cancer centers. All they're ever offered is chemotherapy, immunotherapy. They're never offered anything else. And I actually ask my cancer patients, has your oncologist offered you any cheap, effective, repurposed drug or option to treat? And the answer is always no. They never offer anything other than extremely expensive treatments. And they'll put you on first-line chemo, second-line chemo, immunotherapy, clinical trial. And when you've exhausted all of those things and made the pharmaceutical industry rich, then they'll say, oh, sorry, we have no options left for you. And that's unfortunately when a lot of patients are coming to me. Well, fortunately or unfortunately. Unfortunately, in the sense they're coming very late. And so I'm given extremely difficult cases. Stage 4, the cancer has spread to the liver, bones, brain, those cases are hard. We can still get a lot of those patients into remission, or at least get
Wow.
them significantly improved, but it's a
Wow.
big challenge at that point. But
Yeah.
ivermectin, mebendazole, which are both FDA approved and on the WHO list of most important medicines, both ivermectin and mebendazole are on that list of most important medicines that we have. They're cheap, and honestly, you can treat cancer for a couple of $100 a month. And I ran the numbers, and if you really, try to save as much as you can, you could literally treat your cancer for 50 to $100 a month.
Oh my word.
If you really sort of don't have the funds, but a couple of $100 a month to treat
Yeah.
cancer, put your cancer into remission. This is for big pharma. This is extremely dangerous for them and their profit model, because the cancer drug business is a $200 billion a year business. Now imagine those $200 billion, if that becomes 100 billion, 50 billion, 25 billion, a lot of these big pharma giants are going to go bankrupt, and they should go
Mm.
bankrupt. I want
They
to see
should.
Pfizer go bankrupt. I want to see
Me
Moderna
too.
go bankrupt. I don't want to see them
Me
put
too.
out another garbage product that's going to hurt millions of people, and hurt and kill children, or give them cancer, or give them a lifelong risk of cancer. These guys should go bankrupt. The assets should be given to the people, and the CEOs and the board directors should go to jail. Honestly, just don't lose hope. I think the difficulty is that patients who are in dire situations, I have patients on hospice who now have been put out of hospice because they're doing too well. They're just doing extremely well. I had patients in Canada who were offered medical assistance in dying. They were offered euthanasia by their doctors, and they're now cancer free. I have several of those
Oh my word.
patients now. So don't lose hope. There are always options. And if your oncologist tells you they have nothing left to offer you, or they have no more options, they're lying, or they're just working on behalf of big pharma. Because what they're really saying is that we have no other way to make money off you. So we have nothing that we're going to
Mm.
offer you at this point. Don't lose hope. Keep fighting, keep researching, keep reading. There's a lot of help out there.